Hello, investors. This is Connor Bates, Associate Portfolio Manager with Revere Asset Management. Today's Friday, June 5th, 4:40 p.m. Eastern Time, coming to tonight's Revere Roundup Daily Market Insight video, and quite a lot to unpack today. And You'll see in the trend gauge here on the right side, putting market leaders back to neutral. It was pretty carnage to say the least across the board in every sector you could imagine besides, the defensive. But it was broad selling across the board, and then short term S&P Qs and the Russell 2000 are all closed below the 21 EMA, but we remain above the 50 and 200-day moving average. And what happened today? Pretty much NFP report triggers massive selling. We got a stronger than expected May jobs report, and that basically sparked the rate hike fears and killed growth stocks. Pretty much hot jobs data, fewer rate cuts, growth stocks get repriced. So it was a really risk off day. And as you can see in these final numbers, some of the worst that I've ever seen. 21 over 21 list was down 8.62%, 20 red, only one green, and the one green was only up 50 basis points. Turbo 12 list blasted as well, down 12.21%. Every single name red, majority of them down, two ATR moves. Mag 7 down almost 4%. RG8 down 4.5%. Revere AI 100 down 8.41%. 99 out of 100 stocks in that list were red today, and the only one that was green was a name that reported earnings and gapped up, and that pretty much faded the whole thing. S&P down 2.64, RSP down about 1.5%. The Qs getting crushed as well, down 4.8%. And futures are continuing after hours. NQ's now down 5.5%. Down almost 1,700 points. Equate down 4.27. Dow Jones Industrial Average held up the best, down 1.36. Mid caps down almost 2. Russ 2000 down 3.57, and futures now down 4.3. 60/40 stock and bond down 1.9. GROTECTION down 3.5. TurboTection down 6.53. Let's get into the charts. Nothing really other to say than it was very ugly. Gap down on the S&P 500, and it was a trend down day all day. Essentially no bounces really, and closed near the lows, breaking the 8 and 21 EMA. So definitely risk off day. RSP looks a little bit better. See if this can hold the 21. Not too big of a break. And then the Qs as well. Gap down, trend down day all day, closing at the lows of the day, breaking the 21 EMA. Just not pretty whatsoever. Now at that 700 spot after hours. Mag 7 looking like potential failed breakout as well, coming into the 50-day moving average. Dow Jones held up the best today, and that's just he had some rotation into safety. Mid caps a little bit better as well, bounced right off the 21. Russ 2000 not as ugly as the S&P 500 nor the Qs, but still expectation breaker because, right, what happened yesterday? We gapped down and then it got bought up and we closed near the highs of the day. So the expectation was to follow through today, and we got the total opposite of that. ARC, again, getting walloped today below the 200-day moving average. FFTY down almost 8%. And then VIX, this is the other issue, up almost 40% on the day, back through 20, and that's a pretty big candle. And another one I want to show is this meme ETF. Essentially, it's a high beta ETF that holds a lot of growth leaders, and this was down almost 13%, down another 3.5% after hours, and that displays the carnage and growth and high beta leaders. And then the other issue, we have the dollar potentially breaking out of the space. We talked about above 100, is bullish the dollar. So however the market reacts to that, that could be negative. Gold, very ugly as well. Continue to make a series of lower highs and now breaking below the 200-day moving average. And look at that RS line, just straight down. Gold stocks following suit. Silver, ugly as well, but at the 200-day moving average. Bitcoin, another falling knife. Can't find a bid whatsoever. Bonds getting crushed. TLT And that coincides with the tick up in rates that we saw today. You can see here TNX wedge popping, and if that continues, that could be a problem for equities. All righty, let's get into the towel, the tape. Let's see. Percent of stocks for the 5 day really pretty muted. And like I mentioned, the employment report was really the big catalyst for the sell-off today. But there were a couple other things. You had Avgo, super negative reaction on earnings yesterday. You had some, semiconductors extended. You had Marvell moving up, 50% in a couple days simply on Jensen saying he thinks it's a $1 trillion dollar market cap company. And you just had fair amount of extended things. Obviously, you never know when we always say 2 by 4. This was a 4 by 6 day. And arguably today was worse than DeepSeek when you look at the final numbers, you look at the performance, look at a lot of the names. I mean, it was a total liquidation across the board in anything AI tech related. Um, let's see. And then, yeah, all major indexes failing at the 8 and 21. Going to be watching that into Monday. Down one, and we lost the 41 day streak above the 21 EMA, and after closing below it today, and closed back below the 8 EMA today as well. Sectors wise, staples and healthcare really the only green today, typical to see with growth and beta getting hammered. And then, memes, semiconductors, AI, rare earths, metals, Bitcoin, bio, everything was pretty much red on the day. GROTECTION bought a hedge via SQQQ, and then, both portfolios got stopped out of quite a few things. GROTECTION got stopped out of QBTS, SOXO, COPX, PIC, BE, NBIS, Datadog, and then trimmed Generac, 0.91 RVAB, minus 0.30% stocks, total minus 4.41%. TurboTaction got stopped out of quite a bit as well. Sold SPXL, AHR, Bloom, Copper, Tesla, Snowflake, Iron, INOD, Nokia, and then trimmed NBIS 0.99 RVAB. Stock balance at risk 0.56%. Total rebar minus 2.60%. And again, big, you know, nothing really to sugarcoat it other than, it was big down days for the market and the portfolios. And again, you don't expect your full estimated balance at risk to get hit in one day, but it can happen, and that's what it's for. And that's kind of what we saw today. And really, the bottom line was NFP triggers huge selling across the board. Leaders crushed. Let's take a look at some charts and see the carnage. We'll start with the 21 list. One green name in the list today, and that was Lilly. Again, potential safe haven rotation. FTNT is holding up pretty good, all things considered, in the cyberspace. XBI, not horrible, but again, lacking relative strength. Datadog, three looks more constructive than some of the other things, doing really nothing horribly wrong so far. Twilio as well, definitely relative strength today. GH, same thing there. DOCN, another relative strength name. Generac breaking the 21 EMA. Cisco, bit of an ugly candle today, down 6.5%. Dell right at the 8 EMA, coming off the highs after that big earnings gap. Pick, like all these metals got slammed today. Rocket Lab continues to sell off into the SpaceX IPO. Bloom Energy down 10% today, breaking the 21. So you can see a lot of character change. WGMI, same thing here, down 11%. Failed breakout. Maybe it handles out here. We don't know, but you got to manage risk in real time. And that's really the bottom line. Teradyne back into the 50-day. NBIS bounced right off the 21 EMA, but still down 12%, which is over one ATR move on the day. Micron, and another reason for the selling, it was the Korea market. The Kospi was getting crushed. EWY, which is the South Korea ETF, was down, I want to say like 13% today. You got SK Hynix, Samsung Electronics, all those big drivers for the memory trade, and Micron was down 13% today. Nokia breaking the 21 EMA out of character. QBTS, anything speculative with rates ticking up, got hit. QBT down 14%. Marvell down 16%. Again, was super extended. ENPH, solar's got whacked today as well. Kind of expected. A lot of the growth stock got repriced with the tick up in rates. All right, so you can see 21 over 21 lists crushed, and Turbo 12 no different, even worse. NVTS down almost 20% back into the 21 EMA, getting very choppy. USAR down 17%, huge failed breakout above 30. INOD pulling back as well, down 16%. Not really doing anything wrong, but it's just if you're buying wrong, it's going to punish you. But back to the 100 spot, FLNC down 15 and a half. See if this can hold the 21 EMA. Sag down 14. We trimmed this one. We still own a piece of this now. Need to see this hold the 21 EMA. ONDS failed move off that drone catalyst back into the base. ARM Air starting to come out down almost 13%, breaking the 8 EMA. And again, a lot of these, maybe these rip right back on Monday. I have no idea. But you can see today was just a massive change in character. Just AOI as well was showing relative strength earlier today, slammed off 200, down 13% on the day. Iron looked like it was breaking out through the 64 spot. Nope, down 12%, back below the 21 EMA. CrowdStrike might just need a new base after this huge move up. Akamai starting to form a nice little base here again, and then Frog high and tight at the highs. This one had some nice RS. And really, that was where most. Let's take a look at SanDisk. SanDisk down 12% back into the 21 EMA. And then let me just look at my quote screen and, show some other ones. Wolf, another power semi name down 20%. Take a look at the stocks as well. Hard break of the 8 EMA and close slightly below the 21 EMA. So that's not a good sign. Chat, this is another AI ETF. Breaking the 21 EMA, you can look at MTUM. This is a good momentum factor ETF. So a good gauge for risk on, risk off. This one's having a huge downside day, breaking the 21 EMA. So you can see in the ETFs, look at some of these power names. TE down 20%, kind of failed breakout out of this base. And then and then some of the other neo clouds, all of them got crushed there. I showed Iron. Let's take a look at Cypher down 12%. CoreWeave tried to go back into the base. And let's take a look at the Revere AI 100, some of the worst losers. Some of the optics names: AXTI, back to the 50-day moving average. AHR failed breakout, but still overall doesn't look horrible. MXL breaking the 21 days, covered Sag, nope, covered that one as well. Micron, ARM. Let's see, those were all on our leaders list. Take a look at CLS. I mean, right? Pulled back to the 50s, really strong move up, given that 3-day move back in essentially 2 days. NXT, another one, kind of changing character, big outside reversal. You got NBIS. Let's see what other notable ones. A-Lab breaching the 8 EMA. And then let's take a look at what held up the best. Like I mentioned, one green name out of 100 stocks. What does that tell you? And look at this candle. Gapped up on earnings and then closed horribly. Google, potential, safe haven, some of these REIT names, some of the software names. That was really, even Amazon's, showed RS in this list, but it's still down 3% and having a harsh break of the 50-day moving average. So another solar name worth looking for. Solar down 12%. So no real way to sugarcoat it other than it was a complete bloodbath today. And really, kind of the bottom. Oh, and then let's take a look at Avgo as well. Sorry. And then Avgo as well. 500 to 385 in 3 days. That's a pretty big move, especially for a big name like this. So, the catalyst. So you had Avgo earnings this week. That, could have been a catalyst. And then you got South Korea market was starting to pull back, a good barometer for the AI and the memory. So that was against the markets. And then this morning we have the stronger than expected May jobs report hit. And now the CME FedWatch tool assigns a 71% probability of a rate hike at the December FOMC meeting. And that's, that sent yields up. That's going to hit growth stocks and leaders. So really, that's the bottom line. And then you had semis that were overall pretty extended. And today was just, and crypto, just, no floor whatsoever for that, continues to be bidless. So today was definitely a 4 by 6 day. Got stopped out of a lot of positions. We have no idea what the market's going to do from here, but you have to manage risk real time, and that's what we're always going to do for the good or the bad. But we're just going to have to see how the market shapes up next week. 50-day, we'll end this on the chart of the S&P 500. Would like to see this reclaim the 21, but you got the 50-day down here. That is still 3.2% lower. So, no idea if we get that, but that's a level that should start to hook back up. Then reclaiming the 8 and 21 would be the first step as well. But definitely expectation breaker for the bulls today and the way leaders acted. And that's why we're downgrading them to neutral. And, you know, strong run for the market. So we're going to be patient and see how this trades next week. So, you know, that is going to wrap it. As always, like to hear from you. My email is connor@revereasset.com. You can reach out to me on Twitter at ConnorJBates_. And if you're ever interested in becoming a client, as always, please reach out. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a great weekend.